Happy Saturday. Welcome to another edition of WrestleScope Weekly. It's John. How's everybody doing tonight? You know what I should do? I think I'm going to do this. Hold on a second. Just hang on one second. Yes. Now we feel official. Boy, you know, I really need to change my camera angle here. Hang on a second. It's the fun of going live. Johnny Loudcoat in the house. That's right, for WrestleScope Live. How's everybody doing? I'm telling you, I am still trying to recover from the debacle of night one of the WWE Draft. As Pete Quinnell from Wrestle Talk, please follow them on YouTube. Give them a subscribe, Wrestle Talk. They do a fantastic job. They're a huge inspiration for me. So please give them a follow. Want to get them to 1 million subscribers. I'm surprised they haven't gotten there yet. But Pete Quinnell put it perfectly. And he said it was a banger of a show, but it was more the matches than anything else, which is actually a kind of a first for WWE in a while, where it was actually the in-ring action overtook what was going on in the background. And the draft has turned into just a complete joke, quite honestly. And actually, I'm going to pull up here. Have not had a chance to look at it, and I'm going to do it right now as we are as we're chatting here. And please leave your comments in here. If you have not followed me on any of my social media, you can check us out at WrestleScope, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. What am I forgetting? Patreon. Yes, Patreon. Going to be talking a lot more about Patreon. Let's see. We've got the results of the WWE Draft. And I can't really say there was any shocks last night. I knew Seth Rollins was going to get moved to SmackDown. And I knew AJ Styles was going to get moved to Raw. AJ Styles, let's talk about him real quick. He's been very public on his Twitch streams and on interviews that he's talked about, where he hasn't been happy being on Fridays for quite a while because of personal issues. His son is playing high school football, and they play on Friday nights. And he's been missing those games. And as a father, I completely understand that. I get that. And this move was obviously to allow AJ to be able to see his son's games. And in addition, AJ has been very outspoken about not being a huge fan of Paul Heyman. It goes back to when Paul Heyman was running things, when he was the executive director of Monday Night Raw, and AJ and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were on Monday Night Raw, and Paul Heyman just really didn't have anything for them, and he was not a huge fan of it. And that led to AJ moving to Friday nights when they were still taping things on Tuesdays before they went back going live again with the Thunderdome. And now Paul Heyman is back on Friday nights, this time in more of just kind of the consultative role with Roman Reigns, and there's obviously that discomfort level for AJ Styles. So that move, not a big surprise. I had a feeling ever since they announced the draft weeks and weeks and weeks ago that Seth Rollins was going to be moving. It was the best move for him to get off Monday Night Raw, go somewhere fresh, though the thing nobody's talking about, and I'm going to throw it out there right now, you've now got probably the two top heels in the company in Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins on the same show. Are those two going to be able to coexist character-wise on Friday nights? How is that all going to work out? Eventually, those two are going to end up having to have some sort of confrontation, some sort of together, whether it's in the ring, in the background, and are we going to see a repeat again of Rollins versus Reigns, but this time as heels? Which one's going to be the babyface? Is it going to end up being Seth Rollins? I really hope we don't see that. I don't want to see a rehash of Rollins and Reigns anytime soon. I'm talking at least a year, if not until Royal Rumble 2022. So we're talking almost a year and a half. But WWE, I don't know what their thinking is right now. That they move Seth Rollins, they get him off of Monday Night Raw, like, oh, great, this is going to be the end of the Mysterio Messiah, that whole storyline. Guess what? Nope. Ray and Dominic get moved to SmackDown. And then this morning, Saturday morning, WWE announced another one of the draft picks. Guess who else went along? Because doggone it, they got to keep this storyline going. Murphy moves to Friday nights, which I have to wonder, okay, Murphy is now moved to SmackDown. Guess who else is there? His ex-fiance, Alexa Bliss. And everybody and their grandmother, when this whole thing with Aaliyah Mysterio and Murphy started, everybody was lighting her up on social media. Lexi, how do you feel about this? Blah, 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 blah. They're not a couple anymore. And this isn't real life. It's a storyline. And we're not going to get into that whole controversy with that. But how is this all going to play out? Then the other big thing is you split up the New Day, which really through the entire show, if you watch what happened after the fantastic match between Big E and Sheamus, holy cow, was that an unbelievable match. Those two just put it all on the line in the opening match of SmackDown. Absolutely fantastic. But when you saw the interview with Big E after the match, and when Kofi and Xavier Woods showed up, which was great to see both of them back on TV. I was talking to my son about it today because he didn't see the show and trying to explain to him the whole situation. I don't know if it was Big E playing up just how difficult that match was with Sheamus, how tired he was and hurt and everything else, or was he really disappointed because he didn't look super happy to see Kofi and Xavier back. And then when they started talking about the WWE Tag Team Champions, or, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, he really didn't look too interested in that. He really didn't look too happy. And I thought in my mind, as I was sitting in this same room watching SmackDown last night, yep, they're going to split them. They're going to draft Big E to Raw. And, we end up seeing the tag team title match. No big shock that the New Day end up winning. Kofi and Xavier Woods win the SmackDown tag team titles for the 7th time, now making them 9-time tag team champions. And immediately after, Steph comes out and announces that, the SmackDown tag team champions have now been drafted to Raw. Me personally, I would have went the complete opposite direction, and I would have drafted Big E over to Raw. Because could you see Big E versus Keith Lee? Though Keith Lee was not in the pool last night, I think Keith Lee's going to end up getting moved to SmackDown. But if they keep Keith Lee on Monday Night Raw, you could have had Keith Lee and Big E. You could have eventually Big E and Drew, which would be fantastic. Big E and Randy Orton. You have to wonder if you're going to see Randy get drafted over to SmackDown. I don't know. There's too many irons in the fire right now as far as storylines that you have to wonder if a move is going to be made. But moving the SmackDown Tag Team Champions over to Monday Night Raw obviously leaves the obvious question, what's going to happen with the Street Profits? Are they going to get traded where Montez Ford is with his wife, Bianca Belair, who got drafted to SmackDown? I'm super excited about that. That is going to be great. Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. Yes, sign me up for both of those, please. Or what I'm calling for, and I think that they need to do in the state of things right now, is unify the tag team titles. You have one set of WWE Tag Team Champions that can go to either brand or all three brands. You have it with the women, though they really haven't done it that much with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I don't know what direction they're going with all that. But have a title unification match at Hell in a Cell. You have Street Profits stay on Monday Night Raw versus the New Day in a title unification match. At that point, you have the focus of the tag team titles stay on Monday Night Raw because, again, you've got Street Profits. You have New Day. You have Miz and Morrison. You can bring over Sheamus and Cesaro. Or, I'm sorry, not Sheamus and Cesaro. Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. You have them get drafted over to Monday Night Raw. You add in a tag team division that can take up 1 to 2 matches every Monday night, anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes every Monday night. You're almost filling up an entire hour right there. And you have SmackDown focused simply on male singles titles, main event and mid-card male feuds, and the women's title. You've got 2 hours to focus on those things. Monday Night Raw, you need the help more on Monday nights. You don't really need to have tag teams. Now, when Jimmy Uso comes back from his injury, okay, maybe you start introducing things a little bit more. You have those tag team champions kind of drift over a little bit, depending on what direction they go with the storyline of Jimmy and Jay and Roman Reigns. Are they going to side with him? Is there going to be like, a super Samoan family dynasty and they're looking to gain all the titles? Could we potentially see, and the reason I think of this, I was just watching some NWA World Championship Wrestling from 1985 on YouTube yesterday. And speaking of YouTube, and it was just prior to the start of the Four Horsemen. I think back to the middle, more so the late 80s in the NWA. You had the Four Horsemen. You had Jim Cornette with his Midnight Express and some other things he was working on. You had Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors, Dusty Rhodes and Sting. You had some good guy factions there as well. That's what I want to see happen on SmackDown. Is you'll have Roman Reigns and his Samoan group if Jimmy and Jay side with him. You can have Seth Rollins, Murphy, and maybe 1 or 2 others being a faction together that don't really clash with Roman Reigns and his his tribal council. Oh yeah, Blake, that doesn't make any sense. Did I get cut off from TikTok? What's that? Okay, I don't understand. But Blake, thanks for coming on over. Greatly appreciate it. There's a lot of things that can be done, and I think that's going to be a video I'm going to do maybe next week. Is some fantasy booking once the whole draft gets taken care of and everything. Doing some fantasy booking leading up to Survivor Series, leading up to Royal Rumble, leading up to WrestleMania 37. We'll see. Got to see how things shake out with the draft. What's going to happen with NXT? That's the other question everybody's got floating around right now is we have not seen any NXT call-ups based on the draft, and it looks very apparent that NXT is not going to be involved in the draft. There's a possibility of some main roster people. I think that's where the free agent status is going to come into effect. And let me look here. They have not listed it. I may have to go to either Pro Wrestling Insider or Pro Wrestling Sheet to see. They do not list who is all free agents after the draft. And WWE's website is absolutely horrible with this right now. may have to do a little bit more digging and see. See, they have the results of the first night of the draft. Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that they would have it listed better. I may actually have to go to WWE's Twitter here and see if they have anything else listed here. Okay, yeah, they just have. Wow, they did not even list who got drafted to the other shows, which is very surprising, though they came out with it this morning. Oh, let's talk about that. The big thing coming out of this morning off of WWE.com, off of Talking Smack, was not only was Murphy drafted to SmackDown, but Tucker was drafted to Raw. So that officially ends Heavy Machinery. And I don't know where in the world that's going to end up taking this whole Ms. Morrison lawsuit against Otis and Tucker being his legal counsel and everything. I have absolutely no flipping clue where this is going to end up going, because you've taken 3 of the 4 elements, moved them over to Raw, and Otis is by himself on SmackDown. So are we going to have cross-brand things going on? Is that why there was the continuance put through since Miz and Morrison got drafted to Raw? Are they just going to drop this? I don't know if it's time to move Retribution to SmackDown already, because who are they going to feud with? Retribution, there's got to be some sort of a culmination of Retribution versus Hurt Business. And I think it's going to come at Survivor Series. And I'm not the only one that said that. I'm not the first one to say this, but I have to agree with it. I've got this sneaking suspicion that we are going to see a Retribution gets buried, much like the Nexus did to John Cena, where they're going to come out. Hurt Business is just going to beat the living snot out of them. Excuse me. And they're going to get buried. You've got enough guys now where you could do a 4v4 match with the addition of Mustafa Ali as the quote-unquote leader, which I'm very curious to see how they're going to portray this on Monday night. This is going to be very interesting Monday night. Are they going to give Ali time to talk about why he did what he did? And if they do that, I really, really hope that they don't overshadow the fact that Ali obviously was, Ali is champ after he wins the Royal Rumble. I don't know. Again, it's really too early to talk about Royal Rumble, because I get the feeling it's going to be a Raw superstar that ends up winning the Royal Rumble this year, because, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Ali, they've got to give him a good backstory as to why this happened. I really do hope that they link in some way the whole SmackDown hacker angle that everybody said it was Ali. I really, really hope that they do show that it was Ali, and why he did what he did. Play into the whole fact that, hey, I was the guy that was supposed to get the shot against Daniel Bryan. I was the one until I got hurt, and then it was Kofi Kingston, and he got pushed to the moon, and he got the shot. And when I came back, nothing happened, and he was pissed off. He was angry about it, and then he comes back, and it's Apollo all focused on him and Ricochet. And where does this leave Apollo Crews and Ricochet? They've already lost Cedric Alexander. They've lost Ali now. Where is this going to go? I mean, are they going to recruit another tag team to help them against the Hurt Business, or are Ricochet and Apollo Crews going to get pushed to the side? I actually hope Apollo Crews ends up getting drafted to SmackDown. Have him move to SmackDown. Let Ricochet go off and work on something else away from the Hurt Business, away from everything else. Um, just end that whole thing. Let her business focus solely on Retribution for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Keep them away from all these other stupid side feuds. Let Ali become the #1 challenger for the United States Championship. Or do you let it be T-Bar, Dominik Dijakovic? Do you let him be the guy? I don't know. There's a lot of ways things could go. It all really depends on what happens on Monday night. I'll get back to your question about, or your comment about Ali and the Royal Rumble. But the other thing I want to talk about, and I don't want to take too much time on this, is talking about the return of Lars Sullivan. And everything that I've seen so far has been pretty negative. Lars Sullivan was being pushed to the moon. He was supposed to have a match 2 years ago against John Cena. He was getting pushed to high-level status against John Cena, and then he had some anxiety issues, basically a mental breakdown in a way, and he had to take time away. And I feel bad for Lars Sullivan for that. But then, if you haven't heard the stories, go ahead and research it. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but there were some things from his past that came up, things that he said, things that he posted, things that he did that really were not good at all. And it wasn't just one-time things. It was multiple things that happened. So he disappeared for a while, and he was injured. He was injured too, but he disappeared for a while. And now all of a sudden, all that controversy has been swept under the rug, and the big muscular guy that Vince McMahon loves is back. I don't think this was the time to do it. I think if you're going to do it at Royal Rumble. Have him be a surprise entrant at the Royal Rumble if you're going to do it. You still get a few more months to kind of sweep things under the rug, get away from whatever happened before. Why do you have him show up now? I don't understand it. Why do you have him show up now to destroy Miz and Morrison, and then obviously destroy Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle? Why do you do it now? I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But then again, a lot of things that WWE does makes no sense, really, if you look at it. Just a lot of things that are happening. You want to talk about things that don't make sense. Why on earth do you have Bayley versus Sasha for the women's title last night? The whole injury angle was just, it was washed away. Based off of what Bayley did to Sasha Banks, she should have been gone for months. Her return to TV should not have come until the Survivor Series. If I was booking it, she would have been gone. We would not have seen anything, heard anything from her until all of a sudden she shows up surprisingly at Survivor Series and causes a DQ finish against whoever in the world Bayley is facing. And then that leads to, a 6-week build to what we would think would be a match at Royal Rumble, but maybe those two get drafted elsewhere. Sasha Banks gets drafted to Raw, and, she can't fight for the title. And Sasha Banks has to fight and claw, and she wins the Royal Rumble and says, listen, I don't want Asuka. I want Bayley. And she calls out Bayley and gets that match with Bayley at WrestleMania. That's what should have been done. They fast-tracked this, and they've completely dropped the ball on this entire storyline. It's a shame what they've done. And then you look at Monday Night Raw, and Asuka, who does she have as challengers right now? They just took Bianca Belair away. Yeah, they put Naomi on Monday Night Raw, and she's obviously going to be fast-tracked as one of the next challengers for Asuka. But who else does she have? Shayna and Nia are busy with the tag team titles. I would love to see Shayna Baszler versus Asuka again. We haven't seen it. Yeah, Sasha did get drafted to SmackDown, and Bayley is in that pool for Monday night. And you know darn well, unless, I just had a sick thought here. I just had a really sick thought. You remember what I said about the tag team titles? What if they decide to draft Bayley over to Monday Night Raw and there's a title unification match? Now, obviously, that blows everything out of the water for Hell in a Cell. That completely destroys Hell in a Cell with her and Sasha. But what if they decide to do that? You get one champion, whoever that may end up being, and all of a sudden you get Charlotte Flair returning, and Charlotte wins the one and only women's title. I think I just threw up in my mouth saying that, quite honestly. Storylines and booking in WWE, it's basically 2020. It's a gigantic mess right now. It really, truly is. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing. You know, when you've got Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon in charge of everything, it's time for a change. You take a look at NXT and what Triple H has done down there with his team, and the way that he can so quickly pivot and do things that even when it doesn't make sense, it ends up making sense. He's had a pivot numerous times here, just in the last couple of months. You take a look at it. Karrion Kross defeats Keith Lee for the NXT Championship. Keith Lee gets called up. Karrion Kross has to relinquish the title because of an injury. Then you have that great four-man match where Finn Balor comes out on top and wins. Finn gets hurt now. You've got Adam Cole getting attacked by Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland then gets hurt. And they continually adjust and pivot and slide and move to get things done. And there's really no stagnant storylines right now. I think the only stagnant storyline in NXT right now is Santos Escobar and Isaiah Swerve Scott. If there's anything, Ridge Holland, obviously you don't watch NXT. He is a former NXT UK wrestler that came over a couple of months ago. Really strong, powerful guy, not super huge. At the end of TakeOver 31, he was seen carrying Adam Cole on his shoulder, who had been beaten up, beaten down, and he threw him over the railing. Then you have Ridge Holland taking on wasn't only Danny Burch last Wednesday, and suffered a completely freak injury. Just terrible, blew out his knee. Sounds like he fractured his ankle too on just a bad fall. He's going to be out for months. And that just completely screwed up storyline. No, I don't think Isaiah Swerve Scott should have won the title. I think there's still more to build on with Santos Escobar and his crew. There's still more to build there, but they've just got to build up that cruiserweight division a little bit more. It suddenly has become kind of the forgotten about land. That and the tag team titles. Now, I know things are difficult in NXT right now because, they did late last month, have a COVID outbreak, and they've had to adjust things there. There are certain talent that aren't available right now, some that are. They're limiting people that are there now at the Performance Center, which I'll tell you, I love the new Capital Wrestling Center, what they've done, rebranding the Performance Center. It makes it sound more big time. They've added the lights and so many other things. The one thing I'm trying to figure out, and maybe somebody in the comments can help me, if you end up watching this later, how in the world do you sign up to be part of the WWE universe in NXT? I know how to sign up for Thunderdome, for SmackDown and Raw. How do you do it for NXT? I would love to be on the NXT one. It's a little difficult for me for Wednesday nights because I've got some family commitments on Wednesday nights, and I usually end up watching the first hour of NXT remotely. and then am home for maybe the last half hour or so of NXT. So honestly, being able to be part of, you can't say Thunderdome, but the virtual, I haven't been able to find anything on their website. I don't know, unless there's just a special grouping of people that they give it to. I do have a little, I'm not going to do it tonight. I'll do it at another time. A little rant about Thunderdome. I was very upset last night with Thunderdome, with being able to log into the virtual. I will get into that another time. Now I haven't done it much on here, on my TikTok either, but I do want to talk about AEW real quick. And the reason I don't talk about AEW, it's not that I don't like it. It's just very difficult with the schedule I have. I struggle enough as it is, keeping up with 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, and then the 2 hours on Wednesday night of NXT. I just have not been able to watch AEW. Blake, I'll tell you, from what the reports I'm hearing, and again, I got to give a shout out to the guys at WrestleTalk, Ollie Davis, Luke Owen, Lori Blake, Pete Quinnell, Andy Datson, that entire crew over there. Please, if you want to keep up to date on the world of wrestling, WrestleTalk. Give them a subscribe. I don't get anything from this. I'm just a fan of theirs. They really don't know me. Louis Dangor and I tweet back and forth a little bit, on Monday nights and Friday nights. But honestly, I love their content. I've been watching them for going on 3 years now. They do an absolutely fantastic job. They're the ones that have kept me up on what's going on with AEW. But I have a complaint. I have a complaint, and maybe this is stupid. So, Blake, you just mentioned it. They had a fantastic dog collar match between Brody Lee, who was the TNT champion. For those of you that don't know who Brody Lee is, he's the former Luke Harper from WWE. He moved over to AEW, what was that, about 6 months ago, in a great move for him. I love his character over there. It's absolutely fantastic. He beat Cody Rhodes back about 6 weeks ago for the TNT Championship, which is basically their version of the Intercontinental U.S. Championship. It's their, I don't want to say mid-card, but it's their number 2 title. And Cody came back a couple weeks ago after being gone, selling his injuries, and challenged Brody Lee to a match, and they had the dog collar match. I don't agree with giving the title back to Cody. I don't. I think it should have been, the match should have ended in a no contest. You can't really have a double DQ in a dog collar match. I think Brody should have hung on to the title a little bit longer, because Cody did a good job as the champion. He basically had an open challenge just about every week. Saw some fantastic matches come out of that. He's continuing on with this coming week, where he's going to be defending against Orange Cassidy. I don't think it was time for him to win that title back. I think there should have been a longer build, have him be the baby face that's chasing after the title, where Brody Lee just, he keeps putting people in front of him. Colt Cabana and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson and Jonathan Silver, just everybody in front of Cody to prevent him from winning the title. That's what they should have done. Pulling the trigger and giving the title back to Cody, I think, was a huge mistake. Now, they've set up for a very, very interesting anniversary edition of Dynamite this coming week. And fortunately, one of the smart things TNT does, their network does, is they have the East, which is the live, and then they have the West, which is live for the West Coast. But it's basically a 2-hour difference, 2-hour time delay, where you don't really have to record it. You can watch NXT live, and then an hour later, you can watch TNT, which I may end up having to do that next Wednesday, because all of their championships are on the line. Jon Moxley's defending his title, the AEW championship. Sheeta is defending her women's title. Absolutely love her. I think she's a great talent. I wish they would do more with her in that women's division. FTR The former Revival, they're the tag champions. They're defending, and Cody is defending his title. So 4 championship matches in one night. That's going to be hard for NXT to beat. It really is. I think NXT is just going to, they're going to have to do some things, and they're just going to have to kind of just let it go and let AEW win the week, which is fine. This is a very interesting week in wrestling that's coming up. Obviously, we've got the end of the draft on Monday night. Tuesday will be interesting as we see who all the free agents, where they end up going. NXT could play it off where, hey, we're signing people. We're signing free agents. We're getting this person and this person. Please, Chad Gable to NXT. Chad Gable to NXT, please. We haven't seen Baron Corbin mentioned. I'd like to see him disappear for a while. Who knows what they're going to end up doing, but bring a couple of main roster stars down. I don't want to say down, but over to NXT. Bolster the numbers there. Build things up for some huge feuds going into the next takeover, which should be right before Survivor Series, I think. Could be very interesting to see. I don't even really know what else to talk about here. I mean, just the draft is kind of just really throwing things up in the air. I lost track of notes that I had of other things that happened this past week, but we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see how this week shakes out in the world of the WWE. I sincerely hope for the NXT talent. Oh, yes, Blake, I will talk about that. I don't know. I don't think they're going to give him a win for the Royal Rumble. Again, who else would win the Royal Rumble? I still strongly believe it is going to be a Raw superstar on the men's side that is going to win the Royal Rumble, that is going to battle against Drew McIntyre for that title. That being said, yes, I'm kind of calling my shot early. I believe that Drew McIntyre is going to retain against Randy Orton in Hell in a Cell. There had been talk for months and months that Randy Orton was going to win his 14th title, and he was going to hang on to the title until Edge comes back. Edge wins the Royal Rumble. He goes on to face Randy Orton for the title at WrestleMania. I don't see Edge winning another championship. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think. No, Randy won't win the Royal Rumble. Randy is not going to win the Royal Rumble. But this feud needs to come to an end. There's been some really good matches, but it's gone on too long. Who will be the next contender for Drew McIntyre? You have AJ Styles. AJ Styles has moved over to Monday Night Raw. That would be a great match right there. AJ versus Drew at the Survivor Series for the title. Unless they're going to do the champion versus champion, which I really hope they don't. I don't want to see that this time. I want to go back to more of the traditional Survivor Series. Having the 4-on-4 elimination matches. You've built a basis where this could be done. You've got, obviously, Hurt Business and Retribution on Raw. You've got Seth Rollins and Murphy, though it could be Seth Rollins and a new group against Murphy, the Mysterios, and who knows. You could have a women's match, which I don't know if I would go with that because there's really nothing there at this point. You could have an NXT match as well at Survivor Series. I don't think you really, definitely no to Drew versus Roman at this point. Though I saw something posted somewhere on Twitter. I can't give credit to who it was, that Triple H made a comment that he sees the potential of Drew versus Roman being the modern day Rock Stone Cold. Now, let me tell you, I don't think we're ever going to have any feuds that go to that level, because anything that happened in that Attitude Era, in that 6 to 8 years there, we're never going to see anything like that ever again, because the world of wrestling was just completely different back then. It was just a completely different animal, and we're never going to see it again. But I tweeted, if you build it right, if you book it correctly, Drew versus Roman, with titles, without titles, doesn't matter, could be gold. But that being said, the WWE would guarantee screw it up, just like they're screwing everything else up right now. So Drew versus Roman, as long as both of them are champions, absolutely not. Maybe down the road, WrestleMania 38, maybe. There's so many more things that can... Frank, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you coming on here. There's so many more things that you could build on with Roman Reigns right now. He needs to be, and I'm probably going to take some heat for this one, he needs to be the Ric Flair level heel champion. I'm talking Ric Flair, mid to late 80s, early 1990s NWA heel champion, where he's got his faction with him, he's got his group. It's, win at all costs. That title means more to him than anything else. Maybe he loses it for a month or two and gets it right back. That's what they need to do with Roman Reigns for the next 18 to 24 months. Just keep feeding him opponent after opponent after opponent. Maybe he loses the belt for a month or two. Boom, gets it back at WrestleMania. Goes on for a 4 to 6 month run, loses it right before SummerSlam, gets it right back, or loses it at SummerSlam, gets it back at Hell in a Cell. You just keep building that and building that until a gigantic match at WrestleMania 38. You get the gigantic Flair versus Steamboat, Flair versus Sting type matchup. See, now you guys have me thinking fantasy booking here. I'm definitely going to have to do a couple of fantasy booking videos here of things to do. It'd be fun. Haven't done anything like that. Have enjoyed some stuff that Adam from Wrestle Talk. See, I mentioned those guys again. Can't help it. That he's done. That's been fun. Roman, no, not yet. Not yet. We've had it happen before. I talked about it earlier. No. Not until, what did I say, Royal Rumble 2022. No, it's okay. It's okay, Frank. Way too early for that to happen. You've got to build. Let me just say this real quick because I want to wrap this up in the next minute or two. You got to build Seth as kind of that super tweener, heel kind of babyface kind of guy. Let Roman be the big heel on SmackDown for a long time. Seth has got to finally be done with this whole Mysterio storyline. This has been going on way too long, but now that they've sucked in Aaliyah, I sadly see this feud going on until WrestleMania, where they finally have, it's going to be Seth versus Ray, the final match between those two. For Ray, it'll be for his family. Though you have to think, though, I could potentially see Seth disappearing after Royal Rumble, because when is Becky due? Yeah, you have to do the math on it. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. She actually, I think Seth may vanish thank you, Frank. He may vanish after Survivor Series. there may be some sort of a big blow-off match, and maybe it's him and Murphy. Maybe Murphy takes him out for a couple of months. Seth returns either at Royal Rumble or might end up having to be, would it be Elimination Chamber? Fastlane? Which one is right after Royal Rumble? I forget. He's going to have to be written off of TV because as Becky gets closer to her due date, you know he's going to want to be there. And obviously, with everything that's still going on with COVID-19, I'm sorry I had to bring it up on this stream. I was trying to avoid it, that he's going to take time off to be at home with Becky and obviously keep her and the baby safe. The fact that he has been continually on TV as much as he has been kind of surprising to me. It really has. I thought he would have taken some more time off. But I'm going to speculate that we will see something happen with Seth, whether it's by the hands of Murphy or by the hands of Rey Mysterio at Survivor Series to write him off TV for 6 to 8 weeks. A triumphant return at Royal Rumble would be kind of cool, where he gets some sort of a pop for coming back, kind of like that. You know, the Triple H, John Cena, pop when they come back. And then we have something built for him. But this feud needs to come to an end. But I know it's not, because the bricks to build it are there now with Aaliyah and Murphy. All right. Boy, went a lot longer than I thought I would on this one, but that's okay. A lot of things to talk about. I'm going to try getting in on Tuesday night after everything happens on Monday night with the draft, and obviously Tuesday morning there will probably be the final quote unquote supplemental picks, the free agent picks. Hopefully I'll get a little bit of time on Tuesday night to jump on here and do something, whether it's a live or recorded, to talk about it. And next week, I'm going to start working on the whole fantasy booking thing. I can't do it until the draft is over, but you guys have inspired me. Going to do some fantasy booking. I think I might do a couple of individuals first, maybe do some groups. There'll be a couple of things, and spread this out over a couple of different broadcasts. But thank you very much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you're not following me on TikTok, that's where I do a lot of my content on a daily basis. So if you follow me on TikTok, it's also on Instagram and Twitter. My link tree should be in my YouTube bio. It should be there. You can link to everything. I do have a Patreon page set up. I haven't set up anything else as far as what the bonuses are going to be, but if you'd like to support this channel, I've got, let me show you real quick. I'm going to do a YouTube broadcaster no here. And I'm going to actually move, I'm starting to add some things, I've got the lights. I've got, the old school Mick Foley up there, Mankind. I've got Al Snow, and the belts. No, they're not replica belts. They are the Mattel, Hasbro, whatever kid belts, because darn it, I'm not going to spend that kind of money on belts. But if you want to support on Patreon, would greatly appreciate it. Also have an Amazon wish list too. See, I just screwed up my camera there. I'm sorry. I should not have moved it. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm John. This is WrestleScope. Follow me on all my social media. Greatly appreciate it. Give me a like and a subscribe, and have a great night. And please, God, let Monday Night Raw and the draft be good, because I don't know if I can handle another night like last night was, because that was pretty bad. All right. Good night, everybody. Take care.